At this time, I'd like to call the June 5th special session of the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Public Utilities to order. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Gonzalez. Here. Brenneman.
Here.
Haley. Buckenbach. Wakes.
Here.
Mulvaney Henry.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Haley. You have a quorum.
Ask for approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, roll call, please.
Roll call. Gonzalez. Aye. Brenneman.
Aye.
Wakes.
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Okay. So we're going to begin our search for a new general manager.
Yep.
And the steps that I think Mary and I went through this a few years back. Hopefully we won't have to reinvent the wheel and a lot of stuff that we've got in archives and that as far as, you know, questions, things like that. So you want to?
Yep, we'll certainly start from here. So I think first thing I will do is to announce my intentions on retiring, hopefully effective December 31st of this year. You know, and I said it that way because the board know I have and am having some health issues that I'm trying to still work my way through. So far, I don't see that that will interfere in any way with me completing my work and assisting us in getting us through the process that we're going to start talking about tonight. And then, you know, having the board announce a general manager sometimes later in the year. There's obviously there's not a lot of staff in the room. I did ask if since we're all on not Teams, all on Zoom now, that they would kind of give the board some space to allow you guys to freely work through tonight. And then once we get through tonight, then, you know, certainly welcome to come back in and participate in further discussions. But I do think it's important for the board to get off to a good start on discussing kind of the next steps and where you want to go and how do you want this process to look and work out. So I'm just trying to give you space. Obviously HR is here, you know, Angie's here, Rob is here to navigate through our Zoom presentation today. But you know, there was emails I sent out. Hopefully that was helpful. I mean, it was me working with HR, us getting our heads together to kind of help think through the process and give you some place at least to get started. So what we shared was a job description, number of questions and things that we hope that you will discuss today. And then also what HR, I guess, envisions to be the process itself and the timeline. So if you're comfortable with all that, we can start anywhere you want. And then go in any direction you want to go after we get started.
I think maybe we ought to try the first thing first would be to decide whether we want to do it in-house or whether we want to do hire an outside person. Now we did the outside route last time. My personal opinion is that we didn't get that much out of the outside people, you know, for what it cost. And that I think that with having done it and been there, and if we do have some of the things that was archived, I got the book or the folder that they passed out to us the last time. My suggestion would be that we go with our own HR if our HR thinks that they can get it done and do it in a timely fashion if they have the staff to do it.
They're fully capable of doing that.
I've kind of been through both processes. One with just the internal and HR. When Don Gray came to this position, and then with you, Tom, on the last time, I would just say I felt like I think it was around $60,000 and then some travel. It probably was about $2,500 to $3,000. I feel like we didn't get the quality of candidates that I was hoping for. The sort of the best one didn't hardly finish the interview. He was out of here and
He was interviewing us.
yeah.
He decided, I don't know.
I don't want to do that. So I was disappointed. I don't know that every single agent doesn't work like that, but I was a little disappointed in the quality of the candidates.
And I don't know that whether you go inside or out, whether we do it, whether our HR does it, or we get somebody from the outside to do it, but that's going to affect the quality of the candidates or the, number of the outside group may have a pool of people that they've, headhunted
They've been.
and that sort of stuff that they could pull from. Whereas we won't get those if we just publish in the different mediums and stuff that we're looking for a general manager. We might not get a big, huge response.
So we do have some of the same search tools they have. I mean, they're gonna use LinkedIn as much as possible. We have the suite, software products, LinkedIn, to be able to go out and actively search across the country if needed. But Tom, to your point, they may have a database full of people that they've already interviewed or collected, and that would be at their disposal. Us not having that, we would be searching the landscape without having that full database.
That's why I see the benefit of using a search firm. I think, first of all, I haven't seen us determine what it is that we want in the new manager, and I haven't seen that. And I think that'd be really important for us, because before we start determining, which firm or internal agency, when we decide what we want, I think it's very important that we determine what it is that we want in a general manager, so that we can know what we want from the search firm, or even HR if they do it. We need to let them know this is what we want in the general manager, and we want you to go find this person. And so when in their search, they'll be searching individuals. The individuals that they choose for us to interview will be those, those who have those various characteristics.
And I think that was in one of the emails that Bill sent out. There was a list of things that was criteria what everybody was looking for in the next general manager. And then we would need to develop that. That would be something that we're going to talk about probably this evening. And that'll be our homework assignment, is for us to each individually, prepare a list of what we're looking for.
Okay. Mary, do you remember when you guys selected a firm before? Was that through an RFP process? What was finding a firm like?
It was an RFP process. We had three firms that responded. What we ended up hiring was Mike Hoff, Krauser. They're out of Colorado somewhere, and they have a national presence. There was one firm that submitted their RFP. It was an RFP process, so that'll delay. If we go that route, that'll delay things probably 30. To get them in and to determine which company that we want to go with, we're probably looking at an extra 30 to 90 days.
No, she's talking dollars.
Are you talking dollars or time?
Time frame.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
90 days.
That's 3 months.
That's if we go to the bid route.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, one was a local firm. They didn't do a lot with utility. They did a lot with, like governments, government, city administrators and that sort of thing. They did not have the expertise or the knowledge of the utility industries.
So the RFP goes where? I mean, who has access to the RFP once we submit it?
Well, we'd develop an RFP and we'd publish it and send it out to the same places, and then the companies that wanted to bid, that wanted to.
I'm wondering if the place where we sent it wasn't the place where we wanted it to go. Because if you didn't get what you thought you should have received, then it probably didn't go to where it should have gone.
Well, that was my personal opinion. I didn't
Mhm.
want to say that whoever sent out the RFP and chose that. I didn't,
So the RFP is normally published on Demand Star. And whoever has access to Demand Star, which not everybody does,
Okay.
whoever does,
Okay.
can pull it down and submit it back.
Who chose the firm?
We did.
The board?
We interviewed the proposals, then we narrowed it down and chose the firm.
Okay.
So those of you that are going to APPA will see Mike off out there. Their primary focus is on the municipal utility space. I mean, they're probably the best search firm for municipal utilities. For whatever that's worth. I'm not gonna weigh.
I mean, I hear you, but you know,
I'm not weighing it. This is not Bill's.
there is a world outside of municipal utilities that the utility industry exists in.
I'm just stating who they are and yes, I mean, we have a whole laundry list of search firms that we use for a lot of positions at BPU, so they're not the only one. But-
Right.
And it can be sent to known bidders.
Right, yes.
Haven't gone through it. I would be comfortable with using our own HR department to do it, and knowing what we received or what we paid. I think we could do as good a job in-house as what hiring one of these firms.
I don't know, but I think, I don't know the experience of our HR, but we're looking for someone like a general manager. I think is a very important role. And I think that we need to make sure that the search for candidate is far reaching. That it enables, the best candidates to see it and to be able to apply for it so that we can make a selection. I want the pool to be
better, bigger.
Well, and so Stevie, I don't know the last time, you had to apply for a job, right? I mean, you're a pretty well-known fella and, you've got a lot of tentacles out there. And I will say that, to the extent that if we do this internally and we choose to use LinkedIn, that is likely the best resource that there is, unless you're going to literally hire not somebody who may be, well-versed in municipal utility management, but executive management, right? And you think what we paid for that was expensive? Wait till you get to, and you guys I know can speak to this. Right, I mean, it's something I see pretty frequently. And so I like the idea that, we're gonna lean on LinkedIn a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think I want to make sure that, the search, as I think what I'm hearing you say is the search is as broad as we need it to be, right? And we want to open this up to the absolute best pool of candidates that we can find that, want to maybe come to this little old utility in KCK, right? And so I think from that perspective, I guess I'm thinking, I guess I'm sort of torn between, do we use an outside firm or do we use this? I mean, Dennis, I think you were here when Maurice came to us.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of some recent executive management, that was hired into the utility, right? And what our current HR department has brought us. I mean, Abby, I know you, Dennis, you were here obviously when Abby came here. And I'm trying to think of the others in executive management. I mean, most of them have been here, longer than Bill. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody's been here longer than you, buddy. I know, but that's what I'm saying is I think, so I don't want to, discount, some really quality folks I think we've brought into the utility, that, these fine people over in the corner went out and found. Right?
And we have a new tool that we use, well, so actually, was able to, buy DPU with a brand new tool where we actively search candidates, passive candidates, candidates that aren't looking for jobs, where we go into LinkedIn and then, you put in
You cold call them.
yeah, well, that's modern cold calling, yeah.
It is.
Who's our HR director now? Abby? Who's our HR director?
Dennis.
I didn't know you were HR director, man.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Why'd you let him hire? No.
Well, let me go back to Roland's point. So Abby, we found without a search. Okay.
Without a search firm.
Maurice, we found with a search.
Okay.
Okay. Don Stahl, we found with a search firm.
Forgot about Don.
Okay, so Don was found with Mike Hoff. Maurice was found with Robert Half. Abby was found with us using LinkedIn to locate her. So I'm saying all that to say, I don't want to direct the board.
Been done both ways.
Right. It's been done both ways and we can support anything the board wants to do.
So I'm curious for those of you who have experience with this process before, even if you weren't satisfied with the firm before, are there any takeaways from the last experience if we were to go that route where you think, hey, we let the firm do X, Y, and Z last time, we would give them, I don't know, more specific directions, or is it that route entirely just doesn't feel like you're getting your bang for your buck?
They're the professionals.
Sure.
We relied on their knowledge that we paid for. I think they did what they normally do, and they did a good job. They got candidates. They pre-screened them for us. They did, but
They did bring in an extra person once that gentleman said he wasn't interested. Then they brought in another candidate, that younger guy, if you remember.
But I think they did a good, but I don't know that. And at the time when we went through it, I was, I said, well, I think we need to have a firm. I was for hiring a firm and being transparent and being out there and let everybody look at it and, getting as broad of a base as we could of candidates. But as it turned out, we had a broad base, but it was generally, we had one or two candidates that were probably looking for retirement and wanted one last place to go. And then the other 10 people and other 10, 15 names that they gave us were all lower tiered, people that were looking to build their resume and come along. They weren't,
And at that time, LinkedIn probably existed, but not to the degree that it does. I don't know how long LinkedIn.
Well,
We didn't have the tools we have today.
No, I understood, but I also think to the point you just made about what they're finding, if the firm that was used last time is the firm that sort of specializes, in municipal utilities, I'm sorry, but that's what you're gonna find, right? You're either gonna find people who are looking for their last rodeo, or and because of their municipal utilities. I mean, nothing wrong with it. It is what it is.
yeah.
Well, and one of the candidates, where he was, whoever tried to sabotage and sent a letter to me. I don't know if anybody else received it about, hey, this guy is horrible working with the union and just said, yeah, I don't know if it was a coworker.
I didn't know about
Wait a minute,
candidates.
One of the candidates, somebody who worked for him at wherever he was he Florida?
I went in too much detail on,
Yeah,
the
but
candidate.
anyway,
It was inappropriate information that was shared by one of the candidates.
exactly.
Okay.
Like individual board members.
I think there's somebody, down in his.
Wherever he was, somebody didn't
Found out that he had applied and
try to sabotage him.
trying to sabotage.
Yeah, I just really, to Rose's point, I feel like there's more tools today than there was when
Yep,
we went
you're
through the
right.
search.
We
before.
we can do either or, and I guess,
David?
what you need, either think about it or give us a decision today, either one.
We haven't got a lot of time to be thinking,
No, I know.
just be thinking about it. If we're gonna talk about if I'm hearing 90 days, but to hire a search firm and then.
Well,
I don't want to talk about the time frame.
I know
I've been
that-
talking about the time frame for months. So-
I know.
Amen.
So,
Any thoughts on either approach?
Balance is good, with the new tools that are available or that are in the industry now. How effective a LinkedIn would be for something of this magnitude. I am concerned as to how effective we could internally look at that. Process, I think, is beneficial if it comes from within. I mean, if some of the people that made application, assumably from within the utility, it gets a little bit, problematic, at least from my perspective, that objectivity would be employed. As for the various firms that are available, the pros and cons is where it gets a little fuzzy for me. Heard about Fry, heard about the Meyer, am I saying it right? Mike Hoff. You know, so, I'm just
we can,
intently in digesting,
So if you guys, and I know this is not how the schedule is currently set up, but if you guys received in, 30 applications, let's say, would you let us pair those back?
Yeah.
Would you let I'm asking you guys,
So that's up to the board. If you
because then we have nobody to blame but ourselves, right? So when you say, I mean, and it's a point well taken, David, like, well, there's, there might be preferential. Well, there couldn't be if we picked.
Well, they, on the firm.
I know nobody likes to take blame, but I'll do it.
The firm that we had, they, how many ever, let's say they had 30 applicants.
Sure.
And they went through and they made sure that they met the minimum
Sure.
requirements.
Mhm.
So they automatically threw out the ones that didn't meet the minimum requirements.
Well, Mr. President, I'm volunteering to be on the interview team that we're going to form with this board. And I can assure you that I can read as well as our fine folks in the corner can, and I will throw out those if they do not meet the minimum requirements. I mean, really, I
So
just,
then that was a big part
if
of,
we go that route.
yeah, that was a big part of what the firm, what they did was scoring, would go through and score the applications.
Yep.
so Rob, can you put up the schedule that HR put together? So part of it is having HR actually receive the applications back, do some initial screening to get rid of those that don't meet the minimum applications, okay? And then the way it worked out last time was, the board determines how many candidates do you want to entertain as a board to how many applications do you want, how many resumes you want to review, then how many people do you want to interview? And, we talked internally, Tom, about do you want to set up a committee to do this, or do you want the full board engaged all the way through? Committee is going to take extra time. The board is engaged, if the whole board can work together on sorting through that and getting to a short list for interviewing. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
How do you want to?
Well, I think first of all, don't we have to decide whether we're using HR or using a firm? Isn't that the first?
I think that's the gating question,
I
yes.
think we need to decide that.
So, Angie, you want to? Something, so do you want to do show of hands? How do you want to do it?
I mean, I don't know if you're done discussing, but
I guess,
do show of hands, but I think once you reach consensus and direct staff to begin working on the RFP to engage, if that's the route you want to go. If not, then you need to provide further instruction to HR.
I think as a brand new person to this, there's a little bit higher comfort level with using an established firm, but I don't want to discount that may have been the shoes you were wearing that time, and now you have the benefit of
And that's where that's why
Bring it back.
I was at that time, and I felt the same thing as you're feeling, more comfort in using this firm.
And
I definitely understand that we've got, several new members and they may feel that way, but after
you
going
probably
through.
remember back that the board was very divided about how to go about that.
Yes,
You remember,
yes.
Because you guys went through the same thing on which to use an
Yeah.
outside firm or not.
right?
And so benefit of your experience is, look, probably not an outside firm. Is that fair to say you?
That's where I am.
Okay.
That would be my,
Can I add this too? So we didn't have anybody over HR at that time. So the board was working through all that without having any type of HR real support.
Mhm.
So things are different.
Things are different.
Okay. Stevie?
Yeah, I'm where I was before, thinking that outside firm would be good. And I hear David, mention also the subjectivity that might be engaged with the
We can take it out of their hand. We can take subjectivity right out of their hands.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, there's
Yep.
a solution for that.
Yeah.
You may feel differently that we need an outside firm for other reasons, and I'm fine with that, by the way,
How do you take subjectivity out of it?
if we review them.
Well, ultimately, but I mean,
But not ultimately.
No pre-screening, just
They don't do pre-screening because there's no subjectivity on the staff's part at that point, which is what I thought I heard was a concern.
Well, they have to screen for qualifications, right?
no.
Why can't we?
What Rose is saying is that
Oh,
I mean, I would change the qualification of the job description. I assume we're gonna get to that, but
yeah,
a little bit, just smidge. But
yeah.
So the job is defined by the charter ordinance, so whatever those job description requirements. So
does
in order,
the charter ordinance require or not require a master's degree?
yes, and that's in here.
No. Does it require one?
Is it?
It says it's preferred.
Preferred.
If the charter ordinance dictate that it's preferred, we can't require it.
I think you can
go
layer
above-
on,
you can
go
go
above.
above that.
Perfect. You can't go below.
You can't go below. Right.
I think you can add in extra, that is your job to select. So I think, sorry, it's your job to select, again, by charter ordinance. That's the responsibility with selection with the board.
Mhm.
So I think you can layer on additional requirements.
Okay.
You just can't remove.
And I think that if I remember right, there was like a subcommittee and Jeff Bryant was the president. Mary, I think you were on it and I was on it. That worked the preliminary part of it and did some, and then when it came to interviewing and reviewing the stuff, the full board
Whole board was there.
did that.
Yeah.
So and again, we can do that. We can have the full board involved in it totally, or if there are members of the board that don't have the time to spend, because it's a time consuming.
But I don't think I'd be comfortable deciding who it would be if I hadn't been a real active part of the process,
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Right. I just do that out because that was.
No, I hear you.
But
I can spend time here versus my day job. I'll spend time here all day.
Okay.
I mean, they're still gonna pay me, but.
I do have a memory of the board. At first, the consultant did pre-screen and provided a list, and I believe my memory is that the board then said, we actually would like to see all of them.
Yep.
Because there was no purchasing director, Lori and I ended up compiling everything for the board and making packets and then the board came up with pretty much the same list, but may have added one additional candidate
Mhm.
to do interviews with.
Mhm. Okay.
yes, Bill, you were an internal hire. Were there any other applicants from within?
That was two.
That were from here and they were still active? Did they remain long after? I mean, did they remain long after you ultimately, and you came up from the
4 years after that, he retired. He retired last year.
So there were two other.
Two internal and,
Two internal, Bill and one other internal.
right. And then there was
Oh,
about
one other. So you were.
and one other, so there was two internal total. And then there was about 30 to 35 or so external applicants.
And you came up from electric, right? You're on the electric side.
Well, electric, but I spent a lot of time working on water systems too.
Have there ever been any water? Who came up, was
Don Gray came,
water? Yeah.
Don Gray was.
Came up only
first
through
before
water.
him,
He
Through
didn't-
water.
Anything on the electric side. So I've got experience working
I'm
on
up.
both sides. If you alarm me. So I guess it's just, we got other things to get to.
We do.
Yeah, we gotta keep moving.
Problem.
So have we reached consensus? It doesn't
I
sound.
don't know.
Where are you, Rose? I don't know if I know where you are.
I can go either way. I really can. I mean, but I don't, how much did you guys spend last time?
It was
60,000 and then travel.
and travel plus anytime we had any extras was $300 an hour, and I don't know how many hours,
I asked Lori about that.
Spent 80 or 90 for Maurice. with-
I wouldn't expect that you'd be able to get somebody to do the search for 60,000.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That was in 2018.
We spent about 80 or 90 on Maurice, so. No,
Yeah, you heard that, right? 80 or 90,000 for Maurice. Thank you for not allowing us to use a search firm to find you.
What's right?
So you did as a great.
Yeah, they were.
Understand it's not the only tool, but I know you guys have a bunch of tricks in, in your toolbox.
60,000 and 260 for travel when they came.
We're not gonna try to guide the board in this decision, so it's,
So.
you guys gotta get comfortable.
I think my only other concern is just, look, and this is often not based in reality, but sometimes we have a public relations challenge. And I think one point in favor of the firm is it does at least suggest, and I know Rosie, you're spot on, we can take all bias out of it and just, the buck stops with the board, but so I'm weighing that versus the extra cost, which is also a public concern to be sure, if you're talking $100,000, that's not pennies. So I think Rose said she can kind of go either way. If we end up taking a vote and I'm on one side, I will be fully on board with whatever the majority decides. I think right now I'm about 52-48 towards a firm, but I certainly understand the pros and cons each way.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm still with the firm. I'm kind of like listening to Rose and believing that we can do that ourselves. Looking at the time involved, you'd be willing to dedicate the time.
Look, I signed up for this, right? I mean,
And
we all signed up for this.
It's an important.
It's really, really important. And I
Important.
mean, if you believe some people, we literally have two responsibilities. One, to hire a general manager. Other is to approve or not approve a budget. And
That didn't come from me.
I didn't say it did. And, I mean, I don't think that, you guys are afraid of accountability, right? I mean, I don't think that. I mean, that's not how I perceive any of you guys, so.
Well, ultimately, firm or no firm, decision's still gonna fall to the 6 people sitting around this table, and we're accountable to it, no matter how we get there.
That's right.
That's right.
And if you feel really strongly about the firm, then feel really strongly about the firm. We're looking at a timetable, and that's what I've been concerned about since last year.
Dave?
I mean, I hate to suggest that I too am on the fence because it seems like it doesn't seem to be one way, but there's just pros and cons to both sides, time being of the essence. This timetable is outlined here. There's not a lot of wiggle room in it if we're going to stay on track with what we've already decided and certainly what Bill has announced he plans to do. At the same time, I would want as much input as we can. If our two duties are as described, Rose just said, this is a key piece. I mean, personally, I want to know where the mindset is going to be of that applicant or applicants toward, building a more perfect union around here from the general manager's standpoint. and not necessarily being wedded to everything that it has been. Where does that room come in? Does that come in, becomes the ladder from within for those that are referred to us from HR? That come outside?
It comes from the interviews and asking the questions and listening to the answers and,
But as this is distilled further, as it gets down further, there's very little room for that kind of input if we come up as a consensus that here are our top 3 or top 4, however many that is. And that's just the way it's gonna be. That's the way it is. So it's gonna be like that. So I don't know, I think either way, we're gonna end up, at least in my mind, of not necessarily having what we desire, what we look for most in a successor to a very capable, as far as I believe, manager that we've had, but evolving into a new mindset or a expanded mindset. And where that room comes in for that input, I don't know, between the 2 processes that we discussed. So majority is going to rule on this one.
So what is that exactly? What did you just say?
some of my friends are here and some of my friends are here. I'm with my friends.
Yeah.
Both sides.
Why are we not able to make a decision on this?
I think it comes down to where it was 4 years or 5 years ago when we hired Bill. I felt like, I'm sure that the new members here, that there would be more comfort in hiring somebody from the outside to do it, and that comfort comes at a cost. We've been through it. I know what I got out of the firm that we hired, and I think that we can do it quicker and better, and quicker and I don't know, better, but as good as the firm, and do it quicker. And I would feel very comfortable doing it.
Thank you. I understood exactly where you were.
Does anybody think that we're going to get potentially better candidates that an outside search firm is going to bring us than we would if we conducted the search through BPU?
I think, I don't want us to get muddied in our minds regarding what we want in the general manager. I mean, you talk about job description, hell with the job descriptions when it comes to diversity, when it comes to, those type of things that I really think are really important and what BPU needs.
I hope we have a woman applicant. I know I shouldn't have said that, Angie, but I did.
I mean, you're still saying you want diversity. I mean, so and I don't want to, I'm saying that I don't want, us to get to be, unclear about what we want in the general manager when we are interviewing and making a selection, because the person that we hire, we're going to expect them to, yes, do the job. Yeah. But there's some people who skills that.
But it's how they do the job.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So we want to make sure that our interview, and I already got some interview questions already prepared, even now, as we look forward to that. But, whether I'm on the interview committee, and sure those questions are at least asked, posed, and the answers that are provided are understood. So anyway, I just want to make sure that we're prepared for the task,
So what are some of the mechanisms that are used internally? I mean, would our HR look at LinkedIn? I mean, without asking, but do they look beyond just, maybe put an ad in the paper, or do you get LinkedIn, or whatever those tools are? For the breadth and scope. Exactly.
So depending on where the board decides, or like, if it's internal, we'll come back and talk about all of our promotional marketing for that. It'd be similar to what a search firm would do. It's just, again, the only difference is they're going to use LinkedIn. They'll have a database. We'll use LinkedIn, and that's basically.
Well, and I would presume, I mean, if it were us, we would obviously advertise this with all of the trade organizations we belong to, right? Which isn't gonna cost us anything. We're generally probably not gonna cost, I mean, pardon?
Very minimal cost with the.
Well, it shouldn't cost us anything. We've already paid them the membership fee, but, right, I mean, and that's traditionally how this is done, right? At least as far as that goes. And so you've got that mechanism, right? I'm, again, like, I'm sure they have a bunch of other tools at their disposal too. And, you know, the question is, I guess for me, is do I think a headhunter is gonna go find me, you know, somebody better than what true HR professionals can find us? I don't know the answer to it. I personally, well, I do. And from my standpoint, I think the answer is no.
I think in response to your question, I think that's my hope, right? That we're doing a general manager search, hopefully not that often, right? An agency may know who the runner-up was at 2 or 3 places. They may be able to, you know, have a relationship with those folks and say, hey, we've got this, just got this great new posting. We think you should really consider. So again, I mean, it's hard. We don't have a crystal ball here, but I think what you're asking is my hope of what would come from that. Both in the ability to have identified some candidates ahead of time. And then also, I think it might hit a little different if you're a potential candidate, if a firm that you've worked with already says, hey, we think you should really pay attention to KCBPU's opening, as opposed to us saying, hey, we're great. We think you should come work here. Obviously we do. But you know, a little bit of third-party validation doesn't hurt, even if it's paid for third-party validation. But that is purely speculation on my part, right? And that's why I've been trying to pick Tom and Mary's brain on this too, because I value that experience.
I just want to see the onus lifted from, actually from Dennis or from whomever, when 2 or 3, I'm glad to hear only 2. I don't know how many made application and coming down to the 2 final from within, you know, but how do you? I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, well, I mean, that would be a kind of rough.
There's people that will make application that really aren't qualified. And I remember a few of those, 1 or 2. They didn't have close to the qualifications.
Okay. Where are we? Are we any closer to? If you guys, because I do feel like the 3 of you feel, I don't want to say strongly, but you feel better than 50% that we should use a search firm. And am I interpreting it correctly?
Yes.
David? Okay. I can get there. So let's use a search firm. So, sorry.
Okay.
You're gonna search. I know. It's like make my life easier.
Make everybody's job easy.
Okay, so what we'll do is, I think we can get somebody shorter than 90 days, and I think that's really the long end of trying to find somebody.
And we have to RFP this.
Not necessarily, but
Angie?
Why wouldn't we?
because the board can make a decision to go in a different direction if you choose, okay? We've got a number of search firms that we've already have, okay? Angie may have a different feeling about that, and I'm comfortable with that.
I'd say there are other options, as Bill said, if they've been competitively procured, if they've been competitively I can't talk. Thank you. Competitively procured by another agency. You can piggyback on those if we've got, so there are some options on.
Bill, you spoke to the use of a couple of firms in previous, high level positions we sought out. So does that experience, make you feel strongly in any one particular direction?
I would say this, I don't want to answer that.
Fair enough.
What I do want to do is bring you 3 firms back and have you guys pick from that.
Well, I think,
and these are firms that we have used on more than one occasion, okay?
and why don't we also provide some firms as well?
Okay.
I'd like to give you some firms, some search firms as well, to consider. Then you can look at all of them and then determine why you would choose one over the other. Or why you would choose.
So we're gonna be adjusting our schedule.
Angie, can you speak to the sort of that criteria you just gave us of either there's an RFP or what criteria do we have to make the sidestep in the RFP, but still be.
But to be competitive, and I did
Yep.
suggest that because, you know, this is a high dollar amount that you do,
And a high profile.
and I hope you, right, that in a public agency. So if you are, so that, you know, if we have competitively bid one, we can use that if it's depending on how I assume that it was, the notice when that went out would be broad enough to encompass this. So if we've got that already in-house, you can use that. If another, but it'd be a public agency because it wouldn't be a private agency. They would, because they have no competitive requirements in their bids. So if you're looking for someone, an agency that's beyond public power and it's more of a private sector agency, we wouldn't be able to piggyback on one of theirs because those would not have been competitively bid.
Right.
But if say, and I'm just throwing out, you know, if, and that, you know, one of the utilities has one good, and they competitively bid it, you can certainly piggyback off that.
The board wants to go down this direction. I'll work with Angie and HR. We'll go through everything that we have used and make sure that it's been competitively bid.
And I will say that if you do go through this process is 100% open. So there will be no executive sessions on that because it is not for an employee. And then when you go into the search, you know, the qualifications would be an open session, coming up with the description of the job, anything, you know, talking about that with the selected search firm, all in open session. When you start talking about identifiable individuals and screening, that would all be in executive session. And I would also believe that coming up with the questions, because I would consider that to be a test. And I think testing material can be done in executive session, you know, because you wouldn't want, you know, what's the purpose of having the questions if they're out there in advance? So I believe you could come up with those questions.
Bill, could you speak to the difference in timeline between, hey, let's look at the firms we've already used, bring a selection of those versus a full RFP process? Like how many?
So
weeks
in
or days
this
saving there?
proposal, there was a 30-day difference between HR and search. I think depending on if Stevie's gonna bring back additional search firms, that's gonna add to that, you know.
There are probably two search firms that I know that have done some work.
Okay.
I like.
And Stevie, the reason I was asking those questions is I want to make sure we do a process that would allow those to be part of the selection, because I don't want to slam that door on you before we get started if they're not ones that we've already bid and have that, you know, that fall under that criteria.
That's that.
Okay.
And then we'll work after the day to look at where we can adjust the schedule to accommodate you're still going that external, right? For search. So we'll make sure we'll adjust the schedule for that.
Are there strong thoughts within the group about RFP versus sort of the cultivated selection, I guess, right? For lack of a better term.
Okay. All right. So can we move on?
Well, I mean, Brett's got
I didn't know if we picked a direction there, I guess.
Okay. All right.
So Bill and I may have different thoughts on this, but if you are looking at this wide group, often just doing putting out a notice of need and doing it is quicker.
But that's,
if everyone thinks they've got someone, then the better, then the quicker.
open it up right away, and then I like that. I like that.
But Bill may have a different perspective.
No.
Okay. No, and that, I appreciate that, Angie, because that's why I was asking. I don't want to double delay us, right? If we're going to end up there to open it up, we should just start down that path quickly.
time frame. Like, I know you said 90 days or whatever, but like, can we be like, look, your thing's due in 15 days?
That's up to.
Take it by 30.
Right. Yes, you determine your timeframes, you know, it needs to be enough time. The only time you can't have it so short is so that like only one person knows. You know, it can't be a jam, but the 15 days certainly would, you know, if we had everything ready and then, you just have to do it quick and come to.
Should we say 30?
What is our
Sounds better than.
outline here?
I mean, if people want
90.
they can get an RP. I mean, believe me, people answer
Right.
RPs all day,
Right.
Exactly.
you know, particularly people in this industry, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Okay.
15 seems great, but 30,
no, I mean, 30 seems,
That's good.
I mean, it's better than 90.
Are we locking ourselves into the out, if we go out and we ask these companies to send in their proposals or whatever, and we look at them and we evaluate them, and then we decide, wait, what we're paying for this and what they're providing us, we can do everything that they're, in-house just as easy and at no extent, not near the expense. Can we then back off of that and go in?
Bidding is canceled for various reasons, lack of funding, because they don't meet the qualifications, because you decide that you don't need the services. So yes.
That's a good flag, Tom.
What,
I like that point that, yeah, that you have that.
that option?
We needed to
Right.
pull that plug quickly and pivot.
Okay.
So we're all saying that RP for 30 days.
If that's okay with everybody.
I'm on board with that.
Oh, good. We all agreed to. Yes.
All right, so next is, what is work as a board or work as a committee? I think I took that out. I said that earlier, because I thought that would add time.
I think we decided we're gonna work as a board. Is that what we said? Okay.
Unless there's anyone who's not trying to be on that committee, but we may be in a position where all 6 of us are saying we'd like to be on the committee.
Also talk about transition time between me and the next person. So in your mind, I mean, I certainly would like to stay until December 31st, but how soon would you want that person named and
I think that if it turns out to be an internal person, probably, 30 days. If it was if we end up with bringing somebody in from the outside, they need more time. 60 to 90 days, which might extend you past December.
But that's a question we can ask. Well, I guess you wouldn't really know because you'd be too subjective.
I know that could be adjusted. I'm just trying to see where you are.
No, the thing is, we want to know how long you think it'll take a new GM.
That's based on the candidate selected.
Based on,
Right.
So can we ask what your experience was with that transition as you stepped into the role?
Can you think back that far?
you don't know.
You're allowed to not answer that one either.
Have to answer that.
Mine was not that difficult.
Okay.
Inside.
So, even if that's the time, you might even take a consulting time.
Try not to turn into conversation. So that was part of it. So back to what was talked about earlier, I guess, think you have to determine who would you like to see and what type of person would you like to see in this role? And what qualities must they possess? What expectations will you set?
as I recall, that was part of, once we hired the search firm, then they interviewed each of the board members and they asked each board member, what do you want in a board? What are you looking for in a general manager? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? And then they compiled all that information and then they came up with a profile. And then that profile is what they use to.
And I approach this not knowing what your answer is.
I know. So.
If we were.
I mean, we can do it and just be ahead of the game if everybody, wanted to do that. But that's the firm that if you do go with the firm, those are the questions that they're going to want to sit down with each of the board members and they're, either by phone or in person and get those answers to what each of us are looking for in a general manager.
Right.
And what?
And then think about this later too, as to, so we're gonna be presenting a lot to you this year on where BPU is and what's coming right down the road in terms of regulation and other things. There'll be a new general manager here. So where do you see this utility going in the next 3 to 5 years? And then hopefully you're selecting somebody that can help get us there. Too. So, and that may be something that you may be asked as well as to, what's your vision for the future? What is BPU potentially facing in the next few years? And then what are your expectations around the next GM and making sure that we work through all those issues? And then any other general topic areas that you may want to entertain around the search, around the individual. Certainly, I think we've already touched on some of it, but
I wrote down quite a bit. I talked about their experience with implementation of local, state, and federal legal compliance laws, their education, what type of awards they received, how they understand the technology associated with utilities, what personal challenges have they experienced and how they handle them, what operational challenges have they experienced and how they handle those.
Those all sound like interview questions.
Right. Those type of things I've been.
Did you have, Rose, you said something about the job description or the.
Yeah, I would, at a minimum, I would want the next general manager to have an MBA.
The MBA.
Yes. Not just a master's.
Okay.
And not preferred. I would have it required.
We can go there. So like Angie said, I mean, that's why.
An MBA.
An MBA, right. And I'm not like, for example, if I had a master's in law, I wouldn't think that would qualify necessarily for this, right? Number one, I'd be a psycho if I had one, but also.
So.
What in tax?
Well, sometimes too, though, in my opinion, that if you've worked through, I mean, a degree is important, but if you've worked through X number of years, that experience, you can't get in a classroom.
But I think if you look at the description, it has like base years of experience in executive leadership and stuff like that. So I think to me, those two go hand in hand, but I think at a minimum, this is a $400 million company. I mean, truly, is that $400 million company?
Right.
We better have somebody who knows how to run a business.
Right.
I mean, I think that's important. Bill, I know that you have a master's. You may have an MBA that I don't even know what you're, so.
Yeah, but that's going to narrow, that will narrow the candidates down. You may only end up with one candidate. We may end up
I have an MBA, but I'm still not qualified.
That would be my concern too. I'd like to focus on that, but if you put it as
the requirement,
preferred over requirement, does that give you the opportunity to value that in an interview or in the process?
You guys want the best candidates out there. We just talked about this.
Yeah.
And some people think MBAs are a dime a dozen anymore. Truly. I mean, that's how they're viewed, right? Mm-hmm. They're not just.
I think they're taking a whole look at like classroom education too. It's not always.
I'm not going to look for somebody with a master's in history just because they have a master's. Seriously. I mean, I'm not.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm reading, so it says, bachelor's degree in engineering, business administration, public administration, finance, or comparable field. Master's is preferred. So if you want master's, then how do we deal with the engineering, public administration, finance?
They can have all of those bachelors.
Okay.
Right? Plus their MBA. And look, I'm only one board member. If you guys don't think we should do that, we don't have to, obviously.
I like the idea. I think my fear is a lack of candidates meeting that threshold.
That's what I asked Dennis. Internally, Dennis, how many do we have? I mean, how many internally do we have? I mean, that's wholly.
Not that many people that have their masters internally.
Right.
Well, there may be others. There's others that don't have, there's some that have two masters, but they're not qualified to do this job.
Okay, we've got to.
You're gonna have managers there.
We're gonna have to adjourn, this meeting.
Do you want to review the RFP or notice of need next time for the outside search firm? So that it,
Can you send it out to us in the next day or two?
well, that will be, I'll talk to Becky, the director of purchasing, and see what, I'm not sure she can get it together that quick, but I think we could probably get some, still quite a bit from last time.
I don't think we need to get on it as quick as possible. If we're going to determine if we're going to go that route or not. Back off.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn the special session. Roll call.
Thank you. Roll call, Gonzalez.
Aye.
Groneman.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
Wakes.
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
The motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.